looking forward to just enjoying the last few years that I have left in high school.
This generation here needs us.
I'm also scared because as of right now, I still haven't fully decided what I want to do in life.
When we all come together, that's what's best for kids.
16 WAPT News presents Back to School, Leadership and Policy.
Well, thanks for joining us. I'm Michaela Franklin.
And I'm Joe Cook. Today we're joined by 5 superintendents in the Metro to talk about successes and challenges within their districts and goals for the new school year. Mississippi has been known for being at the bottom of the list when it comes to education, but the state is improving. We're ranked 35th in the country by U.S. News and World Report and have made tremendous strides over the past 10 years, moving from 48th to 30th in this year's Casey Foundation Kids Count report.
But there is still work to do. Those academic milestones can't be reached without good leadership and commitment from teachers and staff in our school districts.
Well, today we're welcoming Dr. Eric Green with Jackson Public Schools and Mr. Ted Poor from Madison County Schools.
Also joining us, Dr. Scott Rhimes of Rankin County Schools and Dr. Toriana Holloway of Vicksburg Warren Schools and Dr. Andy Scoggin, Clinton Public Schools. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us, and let's start our conversation today. So, of course, you know, a new school year, big thing that we want to start off with is parents. How big of a role do they play in the start of the new year? I'll let anyone start.
Well, I'll just say, you know, we've got over 18,000 students in our district and 28 schools and 8 school communities. So our parents are very important to our success, and of course running buses and doing the things that we do to begin the year. And you know, we've got to have that support from all of our communities and all of our parents. So we have a great group of support, and we're proud of that, of course, in Rankin County.
Agreed. Schools are all about people, and of course it requires that we engage all of the people, our educators, our scholars, but as well their families, to help the scholars to plug in, to care about learning, to do their very best, to be prepared to come to school and learn and do their very best academically, behaviorally, in their extracurricular activities, all of that. So it's hugely important that our parents are involved in the scholars' learning, but also that we support parents and that we create conditions for parents to plug in, make it more convenient for them to plug in with us, but also make it clear kind of what our goals are so that they can support.
I agree with Eric on that. I think research would support that all schools that are successful have a pretty robust parent involvement program, whether it's PTOs or whether it's booster clubs or whatever you have. But the more parent involvement, usually the more successful the school district.
If you're talking about creating a true school community, it takes more than just administrators, teachers, faculty members, staff. It takes parents to be involved as well. So parents are key to what we do every day.
Yeah, and every community is unique, and I think ours is we're no exception. A small community where a lot of our parents have grown up in the Clinton community, went to school in the Clinton community, and have come back so that their students can experience that. And so we take that challenge highly, that they want to have that same great experience for their kids. And so we try to find avenues to engage them in any ways that we can, because there's such an interdependence of school and community, and successful schools deserve successful communities, and parents are such a huge part of that.
Absolutely, and I think we can all agree how involved, you know, parents are in schools. But if you can pick one thing from your parents to ask of them, what would it be?
Yeah, for us, I think it's allowing us to continue to live up to that expectation, allow us to challenge our students academically in arts and athletics and all those things, those expectations that they have, you know, allow our teachers to challenge them and allow them to be supported in that and find ways to get engaged with that. I think there are a lot of opportunities to do that and to continue to perform at a high level. That's what we need.
I would say communication. Any effective relationship depends on the level of communication you have. So we hope that they continue to communicate with us so we can address their needs.
And I think that engagement from pre-K through 12, you know, a lot of times we forget after maybe 6th or 7th grade that we really do need that parent participation as they get into secondary school. So, that continued support and communication, of course, is a big deal from our standpoint and with the parents. So,
I agree with all that. But I would say that you probably heard this said before that, the teacher would tell the parent that I won't believe everything that happens in your home that I hear from your child. If you don't believe everything that happened in the schoolroom, that your child comes home and tells you. So, I think that communication piece is important. And when they do hear of maybe something that's negative or disturbing, communication is the key. Talk to the teacher first, and then, take it up the ladder if you have to. But teachers communicating with students and their parents is so important.
Right. You think about the needs in the schools and the things that you want to celebrate about each individual school. There's something to be said about families, parents, siblings, community members who live around the schools, really wrapping their arms around the schools so that there's nothing that the school needs, or there's nothing that's going on in the school that people don't know about, because folks are so heavily involved there, so present there. Scholars who might need a little extra mentorship or support, or who might have troubles in making friends or what have you, with community and parent folks wrapping their arms around the schools, you see more of that being addressed. And there's just no way that the school can't be successful without that level of support.
And all of you all mentioned communication with parents and of course with the students, and of course the biggest communicator is probably the cell phone, which is a huge topic right now. A few states have passed legislation in terms of limiting cell phone use in the classroom. How each of your districts kind of tackling that, the amount of cell phone use, a lot of connectivity to parents and teachers?
Well, we certainly have a policy around restricting the use of cell phones, devices in general. But we also know that we live our lives with our cell phones. We Google things, we look things up, we pull up information that we utilize, et cetera, on a day-to-day basis. We go to apps to give us access to our to our money, et cetera, et cetera. And so we're mindful of that, and there are ways for our teachers to kind of facilitate learning and learning experiences using those devices, but there has to be some level of I would say, facilitation and some guardrails around that. Unfortunately, those who want to do bad things with those devices, they do them. And so those are the issues that we've got to manage: bullying, sharing information and images that they just shouldn't, and other things like that. We don't want it to be a distraction, but we know we're moving to a space where you can't get around technology throughout life, and they have to be in our schools as well.
Well, we're a connected society, and in Rankin County, we're 1-to-1, so you can fight the cell phone issue, and like Eric says, we have policies around all of the use of electronic devices in all of our schools, and our principals do a really good job of training our kids and going over the rules and what they should and shouldn't do. But they're watches now, and it's not just a cell phone in the hand. A lot of different ways to communicate. You got to really teach responsibility, honestly. Right. And then during the instructional time, of course, we want them to be focused on whatever the teacher and the lesson's about. But it may be that they're using their cell phone. It may be that they don't, because, of course, again, being 1-to-1, they've got a device. But it's the being responsible when you use the device, I believe.
And for us, it's kind of the same thing. We need to do a better job of teaching digital citizenship, because they're here. They're going to use them no matter what. And we have policies, but they're going to use them. They find ways around it. So why not engage them where they're engaged? Because they're attached to that technology now.
Well, and I think we talked about community. Schools are just a microcosm of our community, and I think any service industry you go in, you see that. So it's not a unique to a school problem. I think in anything, if you go to a restaurant, if you're having your oil changed, you're probably going to see people while they're doing their job on their cell phone. And so I think we see those interactions that don't just exist in isolation in the school building. It's part of the daily experience we have. And so the things that occur outside also occur inside, and we try to manage them. And at the end of the day, make sure that we're providing a high quality education that's not necessarily distracted by a lot of those things.
Absolutely, gentlemen. Certainly a lot of good conversations here. We have so much more to get to, including teacher shortages. So we're going to leave right here, and we'll be right back after this break. All right, welcome back, gentlemen. What strategies do you have to retain teachers right now? Certainly, we keep hearing there's just a great need and a great demand for teachers and educators right now. How are you guys working to keep teachers in the classrooms along with your students?
Well, the teacher shortage is real. I think we've all been affected by that, and of course that's impacted or impounded by the fact that there are fewer students in college that are going into teaching. And so I think one of the things we need to do industry-wide is to make the teaching profession more attractive. And I'm not just talking about teacher pay, but making the environments, the communities, the culture in those schools something they would want to come to. But once we get them, a few of the things we've done in Madison County is that we've created some different pathways to leadership that don't necessarily involve being an administrator, because there are a lot of teachers that really don't want to be in administration, but they'd like to stay in education and maybe have some leadership roles. So we've created some of those through paying supplements for department directors, for grade level chairs for the elementary school teachers, for having a department chair for our special education teachers within a school. So doing things like that. I think one of the things that we've encouraged a lot of our teachers to do is go through the National Board training program. And we're very proud that we've got 170 or so of our teachers in our district that are National Board certified. And of course that does come with a very nice supplement from the state, and we have been adding to that with a local supplement to add on to that state supplement to try to keep them around longer, try to retain them. And we're planning to go up the next couple of years on that supplement to maybe eventually match the state's supplement in our district. So that would be another way. And plus that's great training for those teachers as well, as they get trained initially and as they get those licenses renewed throughout the years.
And I want to jump in here, and I want to go to Dr. Eric Green. You guys have implemented somewhat of a supplement increase, is that right?
Yes.
And what are you guys expecting? How do you think that will impact teachers and just motivating them to keep showing up every day?
Yes, as Ted has said, and I know everyone else is experiencing, you've got to figure out ways to help folks to see that they're valued, to see that there's a place for them and that they can maintain a lifestyle and a family, a home, on the teacher pay or educator pay. And so we're certainly looking at that and wanting to continue to be competitive in the area, but at some point we've got to realize it's not just competitive within the field, but our educators are seeking jobs outside of the field of education. You've gone to school to become a teacher or get your licensure or what have you. I've had folks to leave to go to work for energy companies, et cetera, et cetera. So, our competition is much broader today than it ever was in this field of education. And so, certainly with compensation, looking again at how we can increase that, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to continue to make increases with that, but also looking at other supplements, other ways to increase the take-home pay for our teachers. I want to pay for service, but not just for the service and the performance that you get in your classroom, but your ability to coach and support others. And so providing some stipend to teachers for recording themselves or coaching others, that sort of thing. One, it helps to build community and broaden the capacity base, but it also provides some additional money in folks' pockets.
And I'll tell you, One thing we've looked at is the grow your own piece. We have teacher academies in most of our high schools, so we've this year we'll implement where students can do their coursework that morning and maybe go into school and be an assistant and get paid a paid internship. So let them see kind of if they like the teaching piece of that. So that's kind of what we're doing with kids that are now in high school. And also the mentoring piece is really important. A few years ago, we noticed that the one-year mentor, match them with a teacher, it really wasn't working. So we expanded that, and we do like a 3-year program now. So we have a new teacher come into the district where we're going to manage and help and give them someone to go to for about a 3-year period, and hopefully they'll become a mentor, after that process. So those are a couple things that we're doing.
So we've started a couple of different things. One of the best retention tools is onboarding. So we're beginning to revise our onboarding process. And then the other thing, teachers want to feel like they're supported. So we conduct what's called stay interviews from teachers who've been there 5 years, 10 years, 15 to say, why do you stay with the Vicksburg Warren School District? So we can make sure as leaders that we're replicating those behaviors and supporting teachers. And when teachers know that folks get to Vicksburg Warren School District and they stay there, must be something great going on there. They're supported. So we're hoping that's going to help us recruit other teachers as well.
Yeah, the two sides of that coin, recruiting, right? How are we actively recruiting all year, not just when we're looking to fill staff? I think it's important to sell your program, sell your district, sell your school all the time to potential candidates, because that's really what we're doing. We're trying to recruit from other businesses and say, why we can help you get a license to be a teacher, that you can do some really cool things in this career and still pursue your passion with that. And so the recruiting piece is an all the time thing, and then the retention is, I think what Ted said and everybody else has echoed, is how do you make this a great place to work? I think that's the overarching thing that we really try to focus on. How do we make this a great place to work? Even though there are challenges, you're going to be supported and understand that we really value your service to our community.
I would like to, I don't want it to go unnoticed. We all have great teachers too. It may be a shortage and we may struggle to recruit and retain, but the ones that are in the classroom or in all of our districts getting after it every day, they're doing a great job. And in Mississippi, we need to make sure that we're celebrating that, and because it's not easy. So we're very proud of the state and, of course, of our individual districts.
So you guys have the teachers, you're trying to keep them. Then the other side is getting the students to come in and stay as well. A lot of you guys are battling absenteeism within your districts. What kind of things you guys are doing to kind of address that as well? Like, you have the quality teachers that you're keeping, but now the battle is keeping the students in the classroom as well. That's right. Dr. Holloway?
Well, we're trying to educate our parents on what chronic absenteeism is and then the potential impacts of it down the road. The other strategy is for us to just focus on good quality instruction where kids want to get up and come to school, where they feel like they belong, where they feel like they're loved, and just making sure that they want to be there to engage with our teachers every day.
I totally agree with what Tori said, and that's adding to that. We've developed a really great relationship with our judge in the county, and we're getting a little bit more teeth put into the fact of this chronic absenteeism. They're having to go before the judge with their parents, and the judge is emphasizing how important it is that they be in school for all the reasons that, for success in life and in school, to be there. And they're really starting to hold the parents accountable for those students that are not coming to school as they should be coming. So that's been a big help for us.
And we've implemented last year, we meet monthly with our attendance officers, our student support services. So we identify those kids really early and try to reach out. But also, like Ted's saying, our youth court system is, we meet with them and they're very supportive. We also meet with our schools. You know, when you have 28 schools, you got a lot of situations. So we meet with them every month, I'm sure, like we all do, but it's just really trying to make sure you're touching those individuals and not getting your own way. You know, your policies and your procedures and the things that you have in place need to help you to make it better, you know, to get kids to school and to make it easier for parents. If they miss a day, they don't have to, you know, jump through a lot of hoops to get the kid back in school the next day. So.
All right, well, thank you, Dr. Rhymes. I'll have you have the last word on that. Of course, we have a lot more topics to go over, and we'll be back after this.
Welcome back. We have a lot more topics to get to, and we want to start with safety. One of the biggest topics right now around the nation, including active shooter situations. How are your districts, your schools preparing or planning for, you know, what many can say could be the worst case scenario?
I think you have to be obviously aware of the challenges that come with that when our facilities hold the best that parents have, the best that our community have, our students. And so safety is obviously something we discuss a lot, and we really think about it in layers of safety. So you can have, you know, your physical, how do we enter buildings, how do we do those things? And that's a good layer to start with, and then your procedural. From that, how do we allow people access to our buildings? And the last one's our personnel, which I think is the most important. Our people making sure that those other things are in line and reporting anything that may seem out of line or some of our most important things. I would say all of us have great relationships with either our cities, counties, our school resource officers who provide a great service for us in the everyday life, right? From getting kids onto campus safely with traffic to making sure that our procedural processes work. And so it's probably at the forefront of most of our discussions when we talk. We talk a lot throughout. We try to support one another. I consider these guys friends, and that's the one thing that we always cheer for one another on, is how do we make sure we're taking care of our kids.
And across districts, through these relationships, sharing some of the resources and some of the strategies that seem to be working in other places. We've expanded some of the tools that we use to detect metal or weapons and that sort of thing. And so we've seen lots of improvement in terms of that. But so much of this is around the education and the individual responsibility of every person, every individual within the school community. That's little people and adults. We can't prop doors open to, you know, go back and forth to get something out of our car or whatever it is to be convenient. You can't do that. You've got to report, you know, anything that you see that could be, you know, dangerous or just questionable. If there's a bag sitting with no owner, you got to report that. It's some of the same behavior that you expect in airports and that sort of thing. You know, we've got to be consistent with our intake. The way that we greet folks and the questions that we ask and the requirements for those individuals. All of those sorts of things help us to create the kinds of conditions where those things that are a little out of the norm can be easily spotted and addressed. We do have wonderful relationships with law enforcement, and we've got folks within the building who are taking very seriously their role in keeping one another safe, but that's what it takes. Everybody, not just the one lone security guard or officer.
Right. I know that all of us have spent millions of dollars the last few years in securing our physical plants and making sure that our buildings themselves are more secure, more safe. But there's another safety feature, and that's the emotional safety that students need to feel in the room, in the school. Because if the students don't feel safe, you may have all of the physical protections that you can possibly have, but if they don't feel safe in that teacher's room or in that classroom or in the hallway or in the restrooms, then they're not going to perform. So we can forget about, you know, academic test scores if a student doesn't feel safe and secure in their environment. So we also, probably spent a lot of money on the mental health aspect of students and how that mental health and that safety really go hand in hand in providing that environment where students can thrive and not just go to a place where they hope they survive.
Exactly, that's right.
Well, that was a great way to end it, Mr. Poore. We appreciate your input on that as well. Of course, we'll have a lot more topics that we'll be getting to as we get back from this break as well.
Welcome back. We are continuing our conversation with superintendents around the metro. So far, we've touched on social media, parental supervision, and now we want to talk about mental health.
Exactly. Mental health, of course, a big issue, not only in this state, but nationally. And Mr. Poore, you had touched on that a little bit earlier. And for all of the superintendents that we have here, how are you guys handling keeping kids safe and supported in the area of mental health? I guess what are some of the initiatives you guys have? How are teachers, aiding in that as well?
Well, I'll tell you, we've got a great student support service system in Rankin County. But last year, I wanted to be able to tell our parents that we were bringing these topics out and helping the students with bullying and with the things, the drug use or whatever it may be that they're facing. So we implemented a once a month program through a platform called Vector. And so our students go in and they do a little lesson and the teachers talk to them about that. So that's something that we've done, and I think that kind of helps. We've also added some counselors over the last few years just to make sure that we've got the people there to help service and counseling's changed over the past 10 years. They used to be about helping with testing and all that, but we want our counselors to be able to focus in with our students and to understand and get to know them and be able to help them wherever it's needed. So,
yeah, we picking up on the team members who support around mental health. Our counselors definitely do a lot of work to support our scholars and just to help the teaching team, all of the educators, to better understand some of the issues or signs that scholars might be in distress in that. So we've got that in place. In the last 2 years, we've ensured that each of our secondary schools, so middle and high school, have deans of student. And so those individuals just support scholars with success. There's an academic piece, but there's also this piece around just how are you? How are you connected? How are you attending? What can we do to help you to be your best self and to realize your full potential? There's an online curriculum that we use for periodic lessons around social and emotional learning and needs in that. But at the end of the day, again, much like physical safety, we've learned that there's a piece of this that beyond the individuals who may be at the point of suicidal tendencies and that sort of thing, there's so many people, so many of us, adults and young people, who might struggle with stress or anxiety or what have you. And that too is in the realm of mental health. And so, the more that each and every one of us knows about those kinds of things and how they play out and how they impact us physically or keep us from doing our very best educationally and academically, the better we can kind of see signs of that sort of thing playing out and provide some supports. That support could simply be, do you need a timeout? Do you need to go and talk with someone? Can we check in or something like that?
Let's just expand on support. We've seen a Rankin County School District. We had the privilege of interviewing one of your counselors, and she told us that within the past 20 years, you guys have increased school counselors tremendously. Is this something that you guys have all looked at or have already done?
Well, one thing Scott said, I think obviously the counseling staff and additions are important, but I think also how are we supporting them differently? He referenced the shift in the responsibilities of a school counselor. And so what we really want to do is see what are they seeing students for? What type of needs are our students presenting? Is it academic stress, family problems, relationship issues, those things? And so how can we better target support for our counselors to better support our students? I think that's an important aspect. And then how do we use our community resources? I think in the Metro, we have a lot of community resources that we engage with, and it's different for each school district, but there are probably some similar outcomes of these third-party organizations such as Hines Behavioral Health or some others where we can say, here are some things we're doing in school, and now these are some things you can do that Eric referenced earlier, is wraparound, where we're providing services in school and outside and even to the home through these third-party services that keep that continuance of services for our students.
We focused on training our counselors, making sure they're aware of all the resources that we have in the community. The mayor started a youth development center in Vicksburg. We have a great partnership with them, along with our local mental health agency, and just making sure everybody understands all of the resources that are available. The YMC helped us this year with a camp to help kids transition from elementary school to middle school, because we know how tough that transition is. So we're just trying to make sure we're pooling all of our resources for whatever a student is dealing with. We have a resource or somewhere to send them for help if they need it.
Now I add this, one of a few of our schools have even changed the way they do their schedules to create more clubs and activities, and so the kids are more connected. So they'll, maybe give 20 minutes every week or a couple times a week and let the kids go and participate in something they like and have a teacher or a coach or someone so that they can connect with. So,
only thing I would add to that is that yes, we are using outside agencies, we're using our own people, but I think that the best thing that we can do is make sure that our teachers in the classroom are more aware and have had more training on recognizing students that might be at risk, whether it's behavior, whether it's attitude, whatever it is, because students spend more time with their teachers than they do really anybody else, especially elementary. They're with them, most of the day. And so usually when a student wants to cry out or speak out, they're usually going to a teacher first before they go to a counselor or any mental health therapist that we might provide. So those teachers are really the front line. And so the relationship piece that teachers create with students, I think that's the most important thing that we can do, is make sure they understand that importance and make sure they are really paying attention and getting to know their students. So they'll know when there's something that's not quite right today with Jill. And so they know who they need to respond to and get them help, and not be just reactive to situations, but try to be proactive.
Can I add this?
Sure, Dr.
Scott mentioned activities and things. It is reminding me, we built into our new strategic plan this metric, a goal that a certain number of our high school scholars will be connected to some activity outside of class, because research tells you those scholars will attend school more regularly, their behavior will be better, and their academic performance will be better. And so just looking across all of our scholars and where they are, who's in JROTC or band or football or whatever it might be, how do we increase that and even increase the number of offerings so that scholars can find themselves connected to something, and that could be their thing that helps to release some of the stress or anxiety or help them to feel some sense of belonging.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you guys seeing that with after-school programs that you guys have initiated that is helping with some of the mental health issues, and not just sports, but other activities as well?
And how so? How is it helping?
I think, and Eric said it, if I'm connected to more than just my math or science or social studies, then if I'm involved, I feel like I have a sense of ownership in something, whether it's my club, whether it's theater, if it's a football team, if it's JROTC. I think the more offerings you have for students, we have such a wide array of students who have such a wide range of interests. And I think the majority, if you look at it, 7 through 12, the majority of our students participate or are connected in some way. And those sponsors sponsors and those coaches and those people who are oversight for our clubs or activities or fine arts have such a connection with kids. And I think Ted said it, research says that if I just have one strong connection with someone at school, I'm more likely to be successful. It doesn't require that I have all these strong connections with everyone, but just one strong connection with someone. And we really see that with our coaches and our sponsors and our theater teachers and all those who pour into our kids outside the classroom.
And I think you asked about how do you know, what data is showing you that. So I think, with us, our attendance data is pretty strong. And our graduation rate has ticked up and up. So you create an environment in your schools that kids want to come to by connecting. And I think that's what you see. You see your graduation rate go up. You see kids come to school, and your academic performance and everything grows in all your communities. So.
All right, that sounds good, gentlemen. Very good input on these topics, and of course, we've been talking about a lot. We'll have a lot more that we'll be talking about coming up here in the next few minutes. Welcome back. We're continuing our discussion with the superintendents around the metro. And our next topic, I want to get into some of the biggest challenges you guys are facing going into this new school year, some of the things that are at the top of your priority list. Mr. Poore, I'll start with you in Madison County.
Okay. I think one of the biggest challenges we have in Madison County right now is our growing English language learner population, and trying to make sure that we serve those students well. We think we're doing that okay, but when students come, especially like in the middle of the school year, and they're coming from another country and they can't speak a word of English, I think we need to come up with some other strategies to be able to kind of infuse them, rather than just throwing them right into the regular classroom, to be able to come up with some type of maybe ELL academy that we put them in for a few weeks, or maybe even 9 weeks, to make sure that they can at least get a grasp of the language before we throw them into the regular classroom. So that's kind of one of the big challenges that we're facing, and something that we're going to be putting some effort and energy into this next year.
Dr. Rhymes, anything going on in Rankin?
And I would agree with Ted on that. But I tell you, one thing that we've kind of embraced is our literacy approach, and trying to improve the way that we're teaching literacy. And then the workforce development piece. We're growing in the metro area in Rankin County, and a challenge we have is to make sure that we've got classrooms. And we just came off a bond issue, like in 2017, and some of our campuses are already seeing growth even after that. But we think if we we can get a strong literacy approach all the way through. And then also make workforce development not just a secondary issue, but like I told our teachers and our principals coming back, it's everybody's responsibility to prepare our students from pre-K through 12 and get them ready. For whatever they want to do, if it's going to college or going to work or going in the military, whatever it may be. So we're excited about that, and that's just going to be hard work every day, coming to school every day and making sure that we're providing those things.
Dr. Hall, anybody want to add anything?
Well, one that nobody's mentioned is making sure we have enough bus drivers. It is a nationwide shortage on bus drivers. We can't educate them if we don't get them to school. So trying to make sure we have enough bus drivers and maintaining our staff throughout the year. We saw some decreases in areas where staff left us in the middle of the year, and it's hard to find quality licensed teachers. So making sure we maintain our staff and continuing the student achievement piece is always a challenge for all of us, but definitely transportation and keeping bus drivers.
Now, what's the bus driver situation looking like for some of you guys?
Yeah, that's a significant challenge, and I think that everybody sitting around the table would echo that. That's something that we discuss frequently. I think you saw such a shift after 2019, 2020, where others pursued other paths, and so and there's also some challenges with becoming certified to become a bus driver. That's right. Some new federal mandates, entry-level driver training programs can take from 2 to 6 weeks for, if I'm someone who says, I'd like to come drive a bus for you, there's probably a 2 to 6 week program they have to go through in order to get their commercial driver's license, go through the testing and the protocols. And so that shies some people away from it who need immediate work, who may have a commercial driver's license, but just may lack a certain certification, and it resets their license. And so that's a challenge for us. And so we're continually trying to find ways to say, hey, it really is a great job. If you're retired, our pay is competitive. You can get retirement on top of some other things. So, it's something that we discuss frequently amongst this group.
And I'll add, I was reminded when he said that about cafeteria and ARIs, assistant teachers in the classroom, and subs, so there are a lot of things that you wouldn't think, well, we just need teachers. No, we've got to have those folks in the cafeteria, those assistant teachers, and we all do things, I know, from budget year to try to help those situations, but that's important also.
Yeah, that labor shortage, it's felt throughout the district. And we talk so much about teachers and the need for teachers, but it's throughout the district in all those areas. We have struggled with transportation for last several years, and largely because we've not been able to keep drivers. And so folks have had to go back and redouble in routes, and then scholars are on buses for much longer, or get picked up later and dropped off even later, and all that sort of thing. And it just interrupts the whole day for them. That's been a challenge for us, but I'd add, in terms of challenges, we continue to struggle with facilities issues. We've done a lot of work. We've invested a lot of money over the last several years to improve in some really key areas of our functioning, but that's continued work given the number of buildings. And thankfully we have now fewer buildings that we utilize as schools, but the issue is still there, and there's still considerable investments that need to be made.
Yeah, definitely. I think getting kids to school is a big part of having school, right? We want to put a pin in it right there, gentlemen. Coming up, we're going to ask you for one final question, what the key to a successful school year is. We'll have that for you right after this short break. Well, welcome back, gentlemen. To bring it all home, we want to ask what we think is the biggest question. What is key to a successful school year?
Yeah, so for us, I think it's continuing this idea of excellence is the only option. That's the thing that I've heard since I've been in the Clinton community, and that isn't limited to the classroom. It encompasses, I think, every aspect we have, from some of the challenges we talked about with transportation to academic excellence in the classroom. And we have such a wonderful group of employees, teachers, bus drivers, principals, assistant principals, those people who impact our kids every day. And so how do we continue to find ways to get just a little bit better with our kids? How do we engage kids who struggle with reading and need some extra intervention, to how do we engage kids who are National Merit semifinalists, right? Because we have that range of kids in our school, and that's what we get to do every day is find ways to support and challenge, and at the end of the day, help everyone be just a little bit better when we send them home. That's the goal. That's the challenge that we get to live up to every day, and I wouldn't want to do it with a different staff than I get to work with every day.
For us, it's showing up every day for the kids. We have so many outside distractions, people on Facebook criticizing, pressures from outside entities. Just show up for the kids every day. We forget our why sometimes, but for me, every morning I wake up, it's for the kids. And if everybody in our school district community remembers that, we'll have a successful year.
I think for us, of course, we're going to do what's right for students and what's right for teachers every day. That's kind of that's how we do our business and go about our work day. And, it takes a team. You'll hear me say from the bus to the boardroom, we've got to be 100% on board. And intentional about what we're doing in Rankin County. So we're proud of that. And you know, again, it's about teamwork. It's about everybody in a district as large as ours. Everybody's got to be on the same page.
Tori mentioned your why, and at our convocation this past week, I challenged all of our faculty and staff to consider that as to why are you here? Why are you doing what you're doing? And try to make sure that all of us, we ask ourselves that question daily if necessary. Is that why am I doing this? Remind myself why I'm doing it. And of course that's for all of us, I think we would all agree that we're there to serve and to sacrifice. What we deliver is relevant and interesting, and then making sure that our curriculums and then the delivery of those are rigorous and challenging to our students. So yeah, I think if we keep remembering every day, why are we here, we'll have a successful year.
Dr. Green.
We've been rallying around this notion of joy and this belief in and value of joy in schools, in and around schools, not just for children, but for our adults as well. And what we know is that when people feel a sense of joy, and it's not just the happiness, I'm happy about this grade I got, or happy about this raise I got, or whatever, but this joy that helps you to overcome some of the risks, overcome some of the challenges, to stick in there with folks who sometimes might be challenging or whatever. Those are the things that help you to persist and to find greater success. And so I want to keep building joy in learning, joy in educating, joy in leading, joy in serving, joy in just being a part of the JPS community. And that's something that I'm convinced that as we tap into that, create it, sustain it, that we'll see the kind of success we want to see.
Well, it's been certainly a joy to have you all here with us. We appreciate all your insight and what you guys are doing and striving to do in each of your school districts. So thank you for joining us. And of course, thank you all for watching, and have a great school year, everyone.
Thank you.